Mustard is the condiment I cannot live without. My proudest moment in debate is that I get to do it nearly every day with my soulmate. And also I love Survivor, mostly because I think Dan will be really good at it, and you should encourage him to apply. That is all.
Well, this is why we're here. Having conversation means sharing what we think and who we are. And what I like about you people is that you're debaters and you will debate anything. Condiments, condoms. I'm seeing if you're awake now. That was very good. But this is a rule in our shop. If you've got a problem, you tell the person the problem that you're having it with, or you may have that conversation with me in my office, all three of us. And I will teach you how to do that, because I'm 150 years old, and anybody who's been married a long time knows how to do this. But at the end of the day, the second rule is come with a solution. Anybody can critique a tournament. Anybody can critique a speech. Anybody can critique a practice. God knows Mario is good at critiquing the Atlanta public schools. John has impressed me with his capacity to critique his school setting. Come with solutions. And I appreciate, Tracy, the idea of coming with solutions and figuring out how to talk to each other. This is a space where we can talk to each other. And Tim and several others last year were all engaged in how do we have this conversation with each other. Aaron and Jonathan have reached out with solutions to help us help your community, and we don't know your judges. We see you all once a year. And we know you through the students you send us. That's how we know you. And that's how we know what goes on in the programs. But we should be a community that can have dialogue that has action behind it. We're going to screw it up. We screw everything up. Change is hard. But if you don't try, you can't do it. And I mean it sincerely. This tournament only grows based on the feedback you give us about what we're doing well, so we can do more of it, and what we're doing poorly, so that we can improve that. Lisa emailed me a couple of days ago, oh my, you don't know what's happening, you've messed this up. I so appreciated that. We double-checked everything. We will try to do better next year. You people keep changing the rules, and we read them, and we don't get it, and the norms that aren't written down, and all that stuff. I appreciate that. But I appreciate the role modeling you just got for coming to the table with solutions. And how do we talk to each other? Years ago, I did a series for environmental science at Emory. Go figure. And the problem was their upper level students did not know how to take all the passion they had developed about environmental movements into the world to make it work. And I had a presentation I made, someone heard somewhere else, about having a conversation with Newt Gingrich. And I always started with, how do you, tree-hugging, granola-loving kids at Emory University, ready to change the world with absolutely no idea how to do that, but with great passion. Let's start with how you would persuade Newt Gingrich. They laughed, they hooted, they thought I was insane. By the end of it, we had a strategy to have a conversation about the environment with Newt Gingrich that started with, you have children. You have grandchildren. If you could have the ideal world, what would that world look like? We're smart people in this room, and we can figure this out. And I have to say, the conversation that's going on in debate I find enormously powerful. I do not know another space in the academy where the conversations we're having could happen. Where people could say things and house them in argument and express emotion that has a reason side. Last year, Ed Lee started a program at Emory on campus. It was part of Social Justice Week. Tim Wise was coming to speak. He's actually a buddy. He actually went to the Emory debate camps back in the day. And I've given him a lot of grief because I use a lot of his writing in my classes, and I go, where is your plan, buddy? You are all about deconstruction. You know more about this than whiteness and privilege. What is your plan? And he goes, Colorblind, chapter 3, it's coming out next, and it is, it's great. It says more speech, more conversation, more engagement, more sitting at the table and seeing each other as siblings in the human family as opposed to antagonists. All the equipment to have that conversation is in this room. And I really think it's time that the key coaches, I don't want to use the term activist. I want to use the term collected wisdom extended into the world. And I think it's time. Thank you, Ed. And I may be the oldest person here. It's possible. I'm not going to count it all up. But I want to say, I totally relate to being the man and being the subversive. And God knows I was the man in debate for a really long time. I never understood that. I thought it was pretty clear I had children. My gender assignment was pretty, proof. I had proof. We're all put in these positions. If you're a debate coach, you're probably subversive at some level. You could put together a much better school than the school you teach in. How many of you just admire the administrative structure, the hierarchy, the top down? Thank you. Thank you. All right, this is our school. This is our opportunity to have a conversation to make a difference. And we get to craft it. We get to do the architecture. And we can resist the hierarchy that has groups at the top that make decisions without consulting those who implement it at the bottom, who actually have more expertise because they know every implementation barrier that's possible. And there's not a conversation there. How do we encourage the conversation to get to real cooperation? I'm all about silo busting, but as John Turner, one of my coaches, said, silos exist for a reason. If you take them down, the grain spills all over the ground. So how do we contain things that need to be contained, but still find ways to communicate outside of isolation? I know you have rounds, and we have some other things to do. But James Rowland is somebody who I respect just about more than anybody I've ever met, and I've had the great privilege of working with him for 15 years. And he's been so moved his last several years at this program. We've had a lot of conversation about how to organize your voice, down to talking about grant funding to bring you all together in some conference settings that we get paid for so that we can do more than this. In the old days, the Urban Debate League, we'd go to the Open Society Institute's big fancy building, and we'd have what we called idea fests. And we would share for 2 to 3 days across kids, administrators get together, fuss about all the teachers get together, fuss about all the administrators. Kids got to go play with each other. It was awesome. And I think it's time we have an idea fest with key coaches. There's so much diversity in this room. And the multi-generational part is the best to me. And it's one of the least studied aspects of diversity in this country. Millennials don't know how to talk to boomers. How do we fix that? We have a common language. So, new key coaches, welcome. We will probably be putting you to work. Everybody else just got dinner all those years. Tyler, would you and Lauren pass the And he said, "You're crying." I said, "Yeah, I cry. I was depressed for a month. I don't get depressed. I get depressed twice a year, 5 minutes each time, and go, God, thank God I got the extra serotonin in my brain that some people didn't get. And I'm sorry about that." But it was hard, and I realized I needed this as much as you all do. January is a terrible time in the world of a debate coach. The weather sucks. The kids are awful. They come back from holiday with all the ick of their families. And we trundle off to do it again, and we're exhausted. And we need this. And we need to do more of it, not less. So, my lovely assistants here are handing out, don't do it yet, this is a ceremony part. We've been doing it for 40 years, only we don't do it with booze anymore. We have 3 new key coaches, and I would like to ask Bill Noonan if he would present the key to Shane, and try not to stab him with it.
Thank you very much.
Come on up, Shane, and I'm sorry you're first. You gotta stand here the whole time. You're looking good, the flowers working for you. I like the little business you got around you. Okay, I forgot Mrs. Paul doesn't spare any other people.
She does everything.
Yeah, she does. While Bill is doing this, I would like
I also
Lisa.
dropped my wife's wedding ring.
He did. It was funny. It was a funny moment at a wedding. It really was. Rolled across the floor, loud, tile. It was great. Stay where you are, Shane. Thank you, Bill. I'd like Lisa Willoughby to present to Mario Herrera. And I love that this is co-directors pitting each other. So sweet. These 2 people are awesome. They were ground floor in the Urban Debate League. Lisa in the mid-'80s, she struggled with us. It was awesome. She'd fuss at me too. They were always right. I don't know, I'm telling you, some of you people are not always right. Okay. I would like now Mike Edmonds to try not to hurt Dr. Janice. Dr. Edmonds has already saved Dr. Janice's life. Okay, it's a dramatic story on the computer. True story.
True story.
Dr. Edmonds is the only person who embellishes more than me in Texas. I don't understand. You all look magnificent in your stoles. If you will stand up and raise your chocolate cups, filled with tasty caffeine-filled frappuccino. For those of you who want decaf, I don't think this will be you up. Please join me in welcoming the new key coaches to our ranks. And yes, you can split yourselves. Thank you, Tyler. You're so thoughtful. Here, here, congratulations.
Here.
You can eat the chocolate thing, but I gotta tell you, it's not the diet. You have standards about chocolate. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our new fellows. Awesome to have all of you. Have a seat. There's extra if y'all want some. I would like, I've got 2 little items of business, and I think I can get you out on time. The first one is James Rowland, and I want you to talk a little bit about the video project and what we envision for that. You just stand where you are and do it.
Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure and an honor to be in such intellectual heavyweights in the room this evening. But let me just say a couple of things. I think a lot has already been said this evening about what the collective has the capacity terms of stories, in terms of wisdom, in terms of insight. And so this is really a pilot program. So if I ask you to do it again because the lighting wasn't right, I already want to put that out there. But you're supposed to laugh. Okay, you're supposed to tough group, that's all right though. The reality is that we want to try to start embarking upon capturing some of these stories, some of, like I said, insights, perspectives that can be a source of information for people down the road. And we want to eventually house them either on a website or either in some kind of way where people will be able to touch base with these stories and these insights. So we're going to be pulling on different people throughout the weekend. If you don't get called, it doesn't mean that we don't like you. Okay, so I want to put that out there. We plan to do this ongoing until we can really work out the kinks and make sure this is something that's a resource, not just for the Barker Forum, not just for for